Next up is a company called Petrospharma. It is ticker PTPI, and we have the president here, Fady Bakhter. There he is. Let's make Fadi bigger. There he is. That's better. How are you, sir?
Doing well, Brent. Doing well. How are you?
I am doing well. Thank you for asking. I will let you take it away. I see your presentation. It is looking great. So take it away.
Awesome. I appreciate that. Good afternoon, everyone. Good to be with you. Excited to tell you a story about men's health and Petros, the company that's going to aim to revolutionize how we approach men's health and the therapeutics that we offer this market landscape. The bottom line is this: the goal is to help enable men to live their journey to its fullest potential. That's a massive undertaking, but believe it or not, it is currently underserved significantly. We'll dive in as to why that is and how we think we can change it. So some of the things we'll be talking about will be factual, will be data-based. Other things will be forward-looking, ambitious, and aspirational. Please do reference our 10Q for both Q1 and Q2 for any specific specificities that you're looking for. And certainly we'll open it up for questions towards the end of the presentation. So let's dive in. How is Petros performing in 2021? We're excited to say that as of the first half of 2021, we are 106% year-over-year growth. And this is going to be primarily due to our flagship pharmaceutical asset named Stendra. It is a prescription-grade erectile dysfunction medication. I'll urge everyone to check it out at stendra.com and learn a little bit more about the asset and the drug and the product, and you'll see all of its features and safety information accordingly. Additionally, we have a device portfolio that contributes to this number. And we're excited to say, come this first half of this year, we are doing extremely well. So we have revenue generating assets in market today. We'll dive deeper into what we hope to do with those assets and beyond. And we're excited to talk about that story as well. Quickly to mention, the ED market is not done. We are 2 decades, a little over 2 decades within the ED market, and it continues to grow. And it's projected to grow to unbelievable lengths. We're talking, it's about $1.5 billion today in the US. It's anticipated to grow to 4.7 billion globally by 2026. So the ED market is not done. It has a lot of growth to be experienced, and certainly the patient volume, the patient adherence and following has a ton to be improved upon. You'll see what I'm talking about in a quick second. So in the US, we have 30 million men estimated to be suffering from erectile dysfunction in this country alone. That number globally is about 150 million men. With those 30 million men, you'll be surprised that current estimates estimate that about 25% of them have actually sought pharmaceutical therapy. The rest remain silent sufferers. That is to say, 25% of the 30 million men in the US are estimated to have sought treatment. Here we are over 2 decades beyond the launch of Viagra or Cialis or Levitra, and yet still such a small fraction of patients have mobilized to seek therapy. That is a massive and unacceptable, underserved community. Now, we'll talk about why we think that is. Another interesting emergence is that in this day, in this current modern day, we're seeing that 1 in 4 ED patients are actually coming to the forefront. They're under 40 years old. At some point throughout history, we determined that ED was a 40-plus condition. Today's ED market is pointing to actually a younger demographic. We're seeing individuals under the age of 40 seek treatment and claim they have erectile dysfunction. That tells us that the market is actually even greater potentially than the 30 million men in this country suffering from ED. A lot to do, much to do in this patient population. So some of the pathways, some have coined this generation to be the 4th industrial revolution. The technology is unprecedented. The opportunity to put control in the patient's hands, to control their healthcare, is like never before. Some of those pathways that we seek to leverage and to absolutely utilize to reach greater patient populations, put more control in their hands, hence the ED market. Some of those pathways are ensure, non-prescription utilization of prescription medications. The FDA has been cited speaking of this pathway since 2014. It continues to be an opportunity to leverage technology to allow prescription-grade medication to be offered to consumers without a prescription based on integrated technology. We'll touch on that in a second. Additionally, over-the-counter prescription switch. Many of you may have heard the significant evolution in prescription drugs that have gone over the counter. Some of the more notable ones, you'll recall Flonase, for example, Nicoderm, from acid reflux to a multitude of products that were at one point prescription and then were switched to over the counter. This evolution, this transition from physician mediated to consumer full control and on-demand acquisition is remarkable. That is an area we're also looking to speak to and develop towards. We'll talk more about that in a second. In addition, when we talk about blockchain technology, we talk about integrated health records, we talk about universal health records. You're looking at an opportunity today to establish products that put therapeutics within the patient's hands, leveraging this technology. It does touch on the ensure. So when we talk about Stendra, when we talk about erectile dysfunction, we talk about an underserved marketplace, keep these channels in mind, because these are channels that not only do we have experience pursuing, and our executive leadership has experience in leveraging, but we are looking to do that in an unprecedented way within the ED market to expand our reach for men who continue to be silent sufferers. It's an exciting process. Let's dive into what Stendra looks like and what it is. It's a distinct and patent protected, it's called a PDE5 inhibitor. That's the class of drugs that Viagra, Cialis, Levitra, and Stendra belong to. Stendra remains patent protected, and it is a distinct molecule. It's currently in market, as we talked about. It is generating sales revenue, and it continues to grow quarter over quarter. We're excited about that. We're excited to also, in the near future, announce some key partnerships and collaborations that we've been able to work with and achieve tremendous heights with. So we're excited. Stay tuned for those announcements. I think it'll demonstrate Stendra's value in the marketplace and the consumer's voice and appreciation for what Stendra has to offer. We seek to take Stendra and to make it the first ever potential over-the-counter medication, prescription-grade erectile dysfunction available in this country. Currently, there are no prescription-grade erectile dysfunction medications available over-the-counter today in the US. The UK, Viagra was able to go over-the-counter. Behind-the-counter in the UK, their terminology is a little bit different, their process a little bit different than ours, but there's nothing like that here in the US. When we talk about stigma, and we talk about the hurdle men face when they suffer from erectile dysfunction, such a personal issue, and there's such a stigma to get them to make an appointment with their physician, to basically tell the physician the issue and be vulnerable on that front seems to be a significant hurdle for men. It's an ego bruising process. Unfortunately, that's how men operate. We seek to remove that hurdle. Treating erectile health in this country, actually in any country, is critical to men's health. Critical. This is how you get men to open up to other ailments and issues, by engaging them on their erectile health. Today, that's not happening. By allowing prescription-grade erectile dysfunction medication available and accessible without the need to make an appointment or see a physician, will mobilize men to seek self-care to treat their erectile health, and may open the door for them to seek the same confidence for other ailments they may be confronted with. Nevertheless, our goal, our mission, is to bring Stendra to over-the-counter status within this company, in this country, alongside the FDA. FDA will guide us through this process. They have specific processes to follow. We seek to follow those processes, and we have a unique and distinct team, as you'll see, that can help us get there. Non-prescription is another option, leveraging the insured methodology. So we do have other alternatives as well that provide the same accessible, unhindered access to erectile dysfunction medication, prescription grade. So there are many ways to approach this. Over the counter is our premier. Imagine for a moment if you have a prescription grade erectile dysfunction medication available at your local pharmacy. And you'll notice today Plan B, one step Plan B. We'll talk about how we know all about that asset, and our leadership knows all about that asset, our board. If you go to any CVS today or Walgreens, you'll see one step Plan B available on the shelf. That was a prescription medication that recently went over the counter. Imagine the same concept, that Stendra, the first ever prescription grade medication available over the counter in a like way. It's incredible to even visualize and imagine, because intimacy happens to be an ad hoc and unpredictable circumstance. So excited about that prospect as we proceed. In addition, so we're looking to unearth a massive population in the erectile dysfunction marketplace by unhindering access to a prescription grade ED medication. In addition, we seek to also address a massive market in this country that has not yet been fully addressed, and that is Peyronie's disease. If you have never seen, heard, or researched Peyronie's disease, it may be worth your while to check it out. Peyronie's disease is a fibrotic condition. Essentially, they're micro injuries, often acquired during sexual engagement, with small micro injuries. And in those micro injuries with buckling and the like, scar tissue begins to form, and that scar tissue turns into plaque, which then begins to cause deformities in the penis, whether it's curvature or hourglass deformity and variations of the sort. It's an incredibly debilitating condition. It has an incredible impact on a gentleman's psychosocial and psychosexual disposition and their partner. Sat through many market research sessions where we saw couples talk about this condition in absolute seriousness and severity. It is acute in terms of its emotional disposition and imposition on a couple, and yet there are no topical, non-invasive therapeutics, FDA-approved prescription grade available to this patient population today. Current modalities are a series of injections. Those tend to be the gold standard, invasive surgery, and or devices for traction control. There's nothing else available. So if a gentleman begins to experience curvature, plaque formation, there's nothing they can do but wait and see. And in that waiting and seeing, that plaque continues to solidify, sometimes calcify, and then they'll be subject and available to more invasive therapy, such as the injections, once it's a palpable plaque, for example. Or if it's calcified and ossified, it would have to go into surgery. And that's a patient's journey. Once they go through surgery, you can imagine things are never quite the same again. We have exclusive licensing rights to a formulation currently coined H100. It's a gel, it's a topical formulation, and stands to be the potential for the first ever topical formulation in Peyronie's disease. In this pilot study that was conducted to assess whether or not H100 topically administered could impact Peyronie's disease in the active phase, especially, also known as the acute phase, we found some strong endpoint results. So 22 patients in this prospective randomized double-blind placebo-controlled study. So it's well-controlled as a pilot study. It improved mean stretch penile length, increased it by 22%, reduced curvature, penile curvature, by 40%, and reduced pain level by about 85%. These are strong and promising preliminary endpoints. We look to bring these data to the FDA and work with them to develop a developmental roadmap moving forward. We're excited to bring this to market as the first ever non-invasive therapeutic and to help mobilize men, especially in their silent suffering phase where they don't know what to do or where to go. And many don't even know that they have this condition. Only recently has this disease gained greater awareness and understanding. This is one of our core missions and assets we look to bring to market. We think it'll be a landmark achievement. Our device portfolio. So erectile dysfunction devices, therapeutic devices, medical grade, have been around for about 2 decades. Osbon Erecade, one of our brands, has been one of the pioneers. We believe in some cases that, according to some record, we were actually the first medical device that was brought to market and has continued to be the pioneer flagship within this space. Many physicians recommend it. Many physicians prescribe it. And it's called a vacuum erection device. And it essentially induces, by vacuum pressure, oxygenated blood within the penis to form an erection. You can do this by therapy, or you can do it for sexual engagement. A secondary line that we have is Postivac, vacuum erection device as well. So we have 2 leading brand names within this medical device space that continue to be gold standards. They continue to be common practice and first-line therapy, as well as combination and follow-on therapy. Also rehabilitative therapy, when you think of radical prostatectomy and or Peyronie's disease. We're excited to have these devices in our portfolio, and we look to enhance them moving forward. We think there's a significant degree of potential to enhance these and make them 21st century friendly. I'd like to take a moment and now highlight some of our board members and what they offer our story. So you may think when a person comes on presentation and says, we'd like to take our prescription medication from prescription to over-the-counter designation, it sounds like a pretty acute lift and a pretty significant endeavor. When you think about the individuals behind this mission, so we have John Schulman, who is founding partner of Juggernaut Capital Partners, has brands such as Zoa and Voss Water, and tremendous partnerships such as Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, with tremendous experience in consumer reach and consumer value. And you look at one of his portfolio companies titled Foundation Consumer Healthcare, led by Greg Bradley, also on our board for Petros Pharmaceuticals. You have John Schulman and Greg Bradley on our board that work to bring Plan B one step from prescription to over-the-counter designation. And Greg Bradley and his team took Plan B one step, and it's now currently among the highest, if not the highest selling SKU in the US. Remarkable. And it demonstrates how it mobilizes the patient, the consumer, by simply being accessible, on demand, and as needed. A remarkable team with remarkable experience and talent, and we're excited to have them on our board. The full venture of our team, I'll quickly touch a few things on my end. I have been fortunate enough to be with tremendous companies such as Merck, Auxilium, Endo, most recently Adapt prior to this venture, where we brought innovative, sometimes and often first-in-class modalities that became leaders in their marketplace. Most recent with Adapt, with Narcan nasal spray. Excited to have been a part of that movement, and excited to have been a part of the advocacy behind that patient profile and that patient type. I think we have an opportunity here at Petros Pharmaceuticals to tell the men's health story, to bring therapeutics not just to market, but to unhindered market, and empower the consumer to self-care. I think this team, of which I'm grateful and humbled to be a part of, John Schulman, Greg Bradley, and myself, will fight hard to get this done, both for Stendra, our medical device, as well as future assets that we're looking to put in our portfolio. With that said, Brett, I'll hand it off to you for Q&A.
Yeah, sure. I thought you looked familiar, Fadi. I think I might have recognized you from one of these other companies.
Yeah.
Just one quick question, and I think you had a slide where you were kind of hinting at it a little bit, but besides when it comes to erectile dysfunction, besides an OTC solution, is there anything else that Petros is doing to, reassure men?
Absolutely. So we still promote to physicians. We still have digital content, and we try to make the message known that you're not alone. And this is actually far more ubiquitous and common than a gentleman could realize.
Sure.
In addition, we're partnering with other organizations. So stay tuned. We will be announcing some of those partnerships. In those partnerships, we do look to destigmatize the message and the process of treating one's erectile health.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you for answering that, sir. We are going to wrap it up here. Petrospharma, it's ticker PTPI, and we had the president and chief commercial officer, Fadi Bakhter, with us. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Brent. Good to be with you.
All right. Have a good day, sir.
You too.